Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So there were some things I wanted to talk to you today about. How do we keep marriages together? Because we need to really start combating the push that is happening in society, in America, but also through the digital airwaves. Now, I was thinking that we could start to encourage couples, young people in general, humans essentially, to resist temptation, which then gets into, well, what are opportunities of temptation? If we start to talk to our children from a very young age, when they see someone who is dressed highly sexual, to tell our sons and our daughters in their ear that this is something you need to lower your gaze from. This is something that has a pull and draw to it, but is actually something you're supposed to fight against. So, all of the teenagers now in high school, they dress in a way that is highly provocative, and the schools no longer have the same dress codes as they used to have. When I was in school, in high school, we had a lady who would walk the hallways and she would check the students. You couldn't show your belly button, you couldn't show your breasts, no spaghetti straps. There was a dress code. Now, however, some of these teens, they dress like they're 25, and their mothers allow it, their fathers don't care, and God knows what they're doing on Instagram and stuff like that. And this is causing, a lot of difficulties for young men, and I've heard feminists mock mothers who complain about the very, spandex type of pants and belly shirts that are worn to school that's hard for their sons to study. And a lot of these girls are goofy, silly naturally because they're so young. And they can make your boy act in ways that he shouldn't, right? They can lower him in a way that isn't very honorable. So if we sit down with our brothers, our sons, and we talk to them on a very serious note, and we let them know that there's honor in resisting these chicken heads, there's honor in resisting lowering yourself to appease a girl who appeases everyone, right? I talk to my younger brothers in a way that's very direct, and they can take the advice or not, but I can tell that one of them in particular, he's definitely coming under the wing of leadership and guardianship when it concerns me, and it makes me feel very, very, very good. It's a wonderful feeling, and I believe he's listening to the advice. So, resisting temptation is something we need to bring back very quickly. Why? If we start at a very young age and encouraging the young girls and the young men in particular to resist temptation, this can also shift the way in which the girls behave. And this is very powerful. So, some girls develop, follow me here, quicker than others. They get their boobs first, right? And the boys, they flock to the one. It's natural. It's in their biology. To the girls who develop faster, right? And they're like, wow, I want her attention. I want her. And some of these girls, it's quite famous in American culture. I mean, even songs have been written about it. Those girls get passed around, and then their reputation lives on, even at high school reunions of, this girl Christina or this girl Jennifer, she serviced everyone. And then the guy who's with her, has no idea, or he does. And there's kind of like a stigma on her. Feminists don't want you to have that stigma. And redemption is possible. But we can use those examples to our boys and to our girls to say this is why you want to resist temptation. Because it lowers you down to something that is swamp-like. And you have to do it in a way where it's a little bit of knowledge here, a little bit of knowledge there. It's incremental, and we build it up over time from a very young age. One day, if I'm blessed with sons, inshallah, as soon as they learn to talk, let's stay away from that little girl. Come on. That doesn't mean, You don't teach them how to be masculine, how to be comfortable and direct towards women. But if you see the neighborhood naughty one, the one that, slithers into every mattress, you let him know, like, hey, come on, And if we say, look at this young lady over here. She's dressed nice, mashallah, she's very respectable. That's a good woman. If we openly praise the better girls and the better women, and we actively cut off the more degenerate ones, this can foster a resistance to temptation and fortify our children's ability to resist. You can look at the examples of Prophet Yusuf, excellent example, may Allah be pleased with him. And also, I feel it's very important, even though this is a more mythological story, but the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh, how Gilgamesh resisted Ishtar. And that was something very beneficial. That one is a story that has always impacted me because it's one of the most ancient, over 4,000 years old. And it is something that really gets you into the mood of, we need to teach our sons to resist a woman, no matter how beautiful and how undressed she is, to just say no. And in that is power. In that is glory. In that is honor. Instead of having our sons look up to the men who want to get all those women, who use those women, we need to flip it. And we need to look at those men as if they're kind of like slimy and gross. Like, ugh, all they talk about is lust. All they talk about is dirty things. Look at the quality of women they attract. And if we actively create this environment amongst the young boys, amongst the young girls, it may take 2 generations, right? But we have to be active about it consistently, constantly. Why? Because what we are facing is harder now than in the past, I feel. Because in the past, things were more localized and you had a bit more control. When you have schools subverting the duty of the parent, when you have ads on YouTube subverting, morality, everything is subversion everywhere. And you're like, this isn't quite normal. Why do they want us to be these mindless, humping, just things that are just like so depraved? Why is that valuable to them? Well, that's a darker rabbit hole. But when you make money in the scientific community off the corpses of fetuses, when there's money to be made in degeneracy, well, there you go. So we need to cut off their money and put our minds towards focusing on strategies against temptation. But we have to speak about it and we have to honor them. If your son comes to you and says, this girl gave me her number in the library, she was really pretty, but Mom, I put her number in the garbage and now I'm gonna make sure that if I ever see her, I'm gonna go sit somewhere else. Praise your son. You want to have an open door policy to where your son can come to you and tell you, Mom, this girl did this, and then one day you go to the campus, eye that girl, be protective over your sons. Because a good young male, he has this vibrant, beautiful glow about him. You can see a healthy boy. Like, you can see him like, man, he's healthy. Look at that, mashallah, he's playing sports. He's got a purity to him. And then you can see the kind of slimy boys that are always in the parking lot, fooling around. Like, they have a very, kind of energy to them that you can feel. It's like a vibration that when you get close to them, you're like, I don't know if I really want this guy around, Especially the young men who are highly addicted to porn. They have a very angsty vibe to them. Very, pushy, needy, jerky. It's very strange. And then with a good boy who has good manners, he's focused, he's driven, he's excelling. The more temptations that come to him, he's going to need some reinforcements. He's going to need us, right? Which brings me back to the duty of a mother. If we are putting college to the side, educating ourselves in our own way, and re-grasping the standard of our sacred duty of guarding our sons and our daughters, we can fight against the evil. We can be a beacon of light, protection, and honor. And one way we can put a little notch on our staff, as they say, whenever you conquer somebody, they say you put a ticket off. It's a saying in America. But once we have our agenda, our goals, and that being one of them, to foster glory in resisting temptation, we can fight against the forces that seek to enslave our children to their most base, degenerate desires. They want to return us back to what we left, right? It's like taking something that came out of the ocean and trying to put it back in when it no longer has fins. We are supposed to become better. Doesn't mean I'm saying we have to be asexual, right? And just total, like, automatons with no intimacy. But what I'm saying is that we keep it in a way where we're not being sloppy seconds. Where we're not encouraging cold, dead, monetized relationships, right? So let's do that. Let's encourage our young ones to resist temptation. And if we have older friends, this is a little bit more difficult. I've tried some of it, but the way in which we can do it with our male friends or our male siblings, like people who we are, I guess it'd be different for a woman giving a man advice. But sometimes you have to be very direct, like you don't need someone like that. Or you should, here's a better sister, or here's this, or here's that. The way in which you can give advice in a halal way to a guy who is about to be tempted needs a bit more finesse. And it might be up to the men to do that. But if he's a young man, right, and you see him about to, do a mistake, you say, hey, brother, can you come here for a second? Can I give you some advice real quick? However you feel is the necessary format, go about it in that way. Because if we're active about it, and at first you're going to get some resistance because people have been programmed by the liberals to be this sort of share your body with everyone, sexual liberation revolution. We have to be clever in how we go about it. And if we know that the activists who work in Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram are subverting our aims, we have to be able to be clever and go around them. And for now, the government's trying to keep us all separated 6 feet apart. But if we go around that and we actively press forward in encouraging this culture of resisting temptation, we can fight against it. Listen, one of the tools the leftists use is this smug, condescending energy of, oh, you're not progressive. I mean, come on. I mean, why is modesty valuable? Like, I deal with those type of people all the time in California. Once you get used to their giggling like little hyenas, you start to grow a very thick skin towards it, and you start to kind of feel like, ugh, this is gross. It's kind of like how I feel towards Harris Sultan. If I ever met that guy in person, I would like spray, hand sanitizer at him. Just somebody who can't stop talking about sex. He loves talking about dirty topics, and you're like, ugh. It's like a very sticky jaguar, It's like, ugh. It's like, ugh. Ugh. But if we encourage our men to be better, fortified, dignified, this will attract to them better quality women, right? And if women who have been making mistakes see us promoting something better, they might get inspired. They might be like, you know what? I'm tired of, hooking up with dudes on the weekend, or I'm tired of sleeping with people in their cars and doing whatever. I'm tired of being paid $50 for a blowjob. I don't want to be like this anymore, right? Boom, we can help them. We can lead, and they will see it, and they might become inspired, inshallah. But one of the key figures is we have to foster a culture of resisting temptation, right? If everyone's dropping hints there, creating even memes against it, creating motivational videos, who knows how you want to be artistic and creative in this endeavor, but through it, we can combat what they're pushing out, because they never stop. It's 24 hours. Boom, 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 boom. But if we just go at it and we're unapologetic and we endure the laughter, we can create a good change, inshallah. But it's going to start with us mothers, essentially, being really honest with our sons, right? While your husband's at work doing 2 or 3 jobs, whatever he's doing, he's grinding, he's hustling, you hold the fortress down, and you encourage your sons and your daughters when they come home from school. And if I were you, surprise them. You know, if you have a young buck in high school, show up to one of his classes, know his schedule, and kind of walk past his classroom and, I'm not saying spy on him, but you glance at him and you see if there's any girls causing him trouble. Keep an eye on them, keep an eye on them from a distance, and then study just like how you would an animal, right? In the nature, you can see which chickens are causing problems, who's causing problems. You can see that. When you're a shepherd, you actually can see who's being the naughty goat in the situation, right? Keep an eye on them when they're going through campus. They may not see you, but you see them. And then think of a way that you can approach the topic and say, hey, don't say, oh, I saw you talking to this girl, but say, oh, this kind of woman who acts in this way is not really the best for your soul, right? And then this can inspire them to change. But essentially, my point is that let's all begin today and make it a goal to actively talk about how resisting temptation is a noble endeavor. Because the leftists mock us by being virtuous, so what we must do is reverse that and say, no, it's glorious, and we must praise those who do, and encourage people to talk about how they resisted, right? Not that they're telling their sins, but that they said, you know what, this one chick, she told me something, but I was like, no. And be like, yeah, that's what's up, right? If we do that, we can change things, inshallah. Let me know what you think.